Welcome to the W2W review. I am the Oakland Knight, and joining me from the LA studios, as always, is Raider Pirate. What's going on, Pirate?
What's going on?
All right, guys. So
Raider
today
Nation?
today is the aftermath. Today is the aftermath of what we saw yesterday, Sunday morning. Raiders at Ravens, and it was another well-fought battle by our Oakland Raiders right down to the wire, and they continued to show resiliency and fight through 4 quarters of football, and it results in a victory. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some numbers. We're going to start off with the offensive side of things. Pirate, what you got for us offensively?
Yeah, a good game offensively. Again, there were some stalls in this football game. The third quarter, particularly, troubling. But when it mattered the most, the Raiders were able to pull it out. Let's face it. This Raven team is the number 2 in the NFL in defense, but particularly in the fourth quarter, they smother opponents and they don't allow opponents to do what we did in the fourth quarter. So if you look at the entire game, only 13 first downs, 11 of those coming through the air in terms of passing first downs, only 1 rushing first down, so they did stymie us there. If you look at our third down efficiency, again, this is not good. 3 for 12, and this goes back to what we talked about before. Some of these plays that they call on third down when you've got long down and distance because of penalties, and you're throwing the ball underneath, and you're not even trying to get the first down at that point. So 3 of 12 again. This has got to be fixed. These are the things that we're talking about. As much as they're doing good things, 3 for 12, and this is not just this week against this defense. I mean, we are just doing horribly on third downs. If they fix this could be a team that is like the Rams, the greatest show on grass.
Correct.
Total plays, 54 total plays, 261 total yards. So again, that's down, but this is a really, really good defense. I have much more respect for this football team. Very, very disciplined. You couldn't fool them on very much, and they were just disciplined in terms of their tackling. Again, 4.8 yards per play. That's okay. 199 yards passing. Carr was 25 for 35. So again, he's thrown over 30 times in this football game. It's becoming a fact pattern here. We're seeing him throw the ball a lot in the first quarter of this season. Only 5.7 yards per passing attempt. We only had 62 yards rushing. So they did what they needed to do in terms of shutting us down. They said we couldn't run against them. We didn't run against them, and other than a couple of decent runs all day, it wasn't that good. 19 rushing attempts, and again, you take a look at 3.3 yards per average. But here's an incredible stat: 3 for 3 in the red zone. We are scoring in the red zone. This is a football team that knows how to get it done when it comes down to that red zone area. 12 penalties again, 93 yards. We got to stop that. And again, committed 1 turnover. The thing I didn't like, time of possession, 25 minutes, 16 seconds. The Ravens obviously dominated us in terms of the time of possession. They dominated us in their total yards with 412. Again, they had 25 first downs. 25. So again, we'll talk about that when we go into the defensive side, but 13 first downs for our football team, 25 first downs for their football team. It should have been reversed, in my opinion, but it is what it is. You played against a top-tier defense, number 2 in the entire league, and they pretty much showed why, but once again, we were able to pull out a victory in the fourth quarter. Derek Carr, once again, coming up big with a huge, huge fourth quarter.
Well, I think the biggest story here is the fact that we put up 28 points against the number 2 defense in the league. And they showed that they're the number 2 defense in the league, but we still found a way to put up 28 points. And it got me thinking last night, Pirate, we're very hard on Bill Musgrave. The whole fan base is pretty hard on Bill Musgrave at this point. I don't think I've stumbled across anybody yet that, supports Bill Musgrave 100%. However, when I was looking at this game and the fact that we were going up against the number 2 defense, and I was thinking about it last night, trust me, guys, I'm going to start off by saying this. My viewpoint on Bill Musgrave is not going to change. I personally just don't like his conservative play calling. However, I thought of a situation I was in my early 20s when I was working for, I was working for Safeway, and we had to go through this checking school type program where we had to learn all the codes for produce, and we had to do all this, and then we had to be tested in a register where we were being timed, and where we're only allowed to make 4 mistakes. And if you made that 4th mistake, you did not pass, and you would not be able to move forward into the program. And there was this really cocky guy that I was in class with, and he bragged about how good he was and all this, how fast he was and all this stuff. So by the time it came down to testing time, I know I'm way off base, but there's a point to this, and I'll make it quick. We went testing, and he had the fastest time of everybody in the class, and he was just boasting. But the guy had 3 mistakes. One more mistake, and he would have been done, right? I was probably around the middle of the class, but guess what? I made no mistakes. I made 0 mistakes. So, at the end of the day, we both passed, but he had 3 mistakes to my 0. So, actually, who won that battle, right? I look at it the same way with Bill Musgrave. I pick on him all the time. I do want to see us be more aggressive, but with aggressiveness all the time could lead into turnovers. It could lead into a lot of missed opportunities, whether you're throwing deep passes. Every deep pass you throw is not going to be a completion. So I started thinking about Bill Musgrave a little bit, and as much as I sit here in dismay, I want to see more out of this offense, the guy is doing a good job. We can't really honestly sit here and talk about how horrible he is when you look at the numbers. Even against the number 2 defense, we put up exactly what we needed to do. We're efficient in the red zone. We don't turn the ball over a whole lot. Carr, gets conservative and checks the ball down a lot, but he does take what the defense gives him, but it's working right now. I still want to see this team open things up sooner rather than later, but how could you argue the fact that what's going on right now is working? Our offensive numbers keep growing and growing, and the biggest thing that really set this team back this week was our inefficiency of running the football. 62 yards rushing, that's where we hurt ourselves in the time of possession battle. But again, it's the red zone efficiency, and it's being able to score touchdowns in those situations instead of field goals gives us the victory. Your thoughts, Pirate?
Yeah, I'll take the devil's advocate here. I'll argue that point all day long.
Right.
It would basically be like sitting there saying we didn't time the 10 key, and we gave you all the time that you needed, and you did a horrible job. But when we did time you, and when it did come down to you either getting it done in this time or that time, you did a much better job. And that's the problem that I have with Bill Musgrave. This is not about breaking him down or saying that he's horrible. I've said it before. I think when this guy is under the gun, he does a great job. He opens it up. When he's not under the gun, when the defense is playing so-so, or when we're in a game where, we're tied or whatnot, or the beginning of games, he tends to come, or God forbid we're ahead, he tends to basically try to milk off that clock with 12 minutes to go, right? Horrible Correct. Play selection, the wrong type of personnel. Again, I just look at it like put the twins in there. Shout out to Watts Raider who called them the twins. That's true. They're both 5'8". They're both tiny little stocky guys. Put the twins in there. I'm going to say it again. This is not about hating on Latavius Murray. This is about when you watch Latavius Murray, he obviously slows the offense down. When you watch the kids, the offense speeds up. You have to cover more of the field. There's a place for Murray, obviously. There's a place for everybody on this football team, including Lee Smith and everyone else. So all I'm saying is, if you think about it, let's get out there. We're not talking about throwing the ball all over the field, do this, do that, and create some mistakes. I think it's a mistake to ask a rookie running back on an obvious play that everybody knows, including the broadcasters, the fans, the people at home, you and your brother, everybody else. Hey, they're going to run the draw, and you ask them to do that with a rookie in that situation. That fumble, in my opinion, is on Bill Musgrave. That's not a good play selection. I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to get some positive yards out of it. If you continue to be positive, you're going to more often than not matriculate down the field. But once again, I think in that particular situation, you put a young running back into a position where he just may have to feel like he lost that game for this team. So once again, like I said, I'm not against Bill Musgrave. I'm not against Latavius Murray. I just think that Musgrave needs to play a little bit, come out of his shell, play a little bit more aggressively. We can do it. This offense can do it. We cannot rely on this defense. We've done it a couple of times, but let's face it, we could also, at this point in the season, be 0-4. Let's just put it out there. We could be 0-4 at this point in the season. We're not. Luckily, we've had some tremendous growth, but again, we could be 0-4 because of the fact that we've had some of these slow starts, as well as the defense. So those that are going to argue or whatever, I'm putting out a point, and if you can't see that, then you've got your own agenda, and I'm not going to convince you anyway. So I think if they, adjust this personnel and they open up this offense a little bit, the way this defense has been playing, it's what we've been asking for. Just play mediocre. I think we'll have much more success than we're having at this point right now.
And that's exactly my point. So again, you made my other side of the point, right? We can be more effective on offense by opening it up. Another example, you talked about the draw play. Another example to me, and I was real fired up about it yesterday, was the 3rd and 1 play where we tossed it to the outside. And again, that's being aggressive. And I don't want to get it confused that, aggressive is always the answer. I think what Bill Musgrave was thinking there is, okay, it's a 3rd and 1 situation. They're expecting us to run right up the middle and pick up that 1 yard. So I'm going to try to catch them slipping, and I'm going to do this toss play to the outside and throw the ball 5 yards backwards and see if we could pick up the 1 yard. Now it's 6 yards, right? So, that's what I'm kind of talking about. We want aggressiveness, but we just want him to be smart about it. It's not about us hating Bill Musgrave. We just see that there's more potential on the field. But my only argument with it is that, he's being efficient, and that's what he wants. He wants an efficient offense. Okay, I'm going to give you that efficient offense. It's working right now. It's playing into our favor. Carr gets the ball, 4th quarter, last minute, 2-minute drives, go ahead touchdowns. It's working, but I will bring up this fact, Raider Nation, okay? It's working right now, but eventually it's going to come to a situation where we play a team that we need to come out swinging hard. And is Bill Musgrave going to be able to turn that switch on and have this team prepared to hit that switch from the 1st quarter to the 4th quarter? I mean, this could have easily been a shootout like it was last year. But let's face it, our defensive front really stopped that whole momentum. And then they were able to run the ball on us. And we'll get that in the second half. But I'm just saying, Bill Musgrave's got to be ready to play, like you said, behind the 8 ball sooner rather than later, because that's what's going to get us to be a dominant team even now. And we were sitting in an opportunity to take off on a run right now and gather up some more wins. And until this defense finishes catching up, which I think they're doing a good job, we need to continue to put up 28 to 30 points. It's just a fact. And we have to stay above the curve. And in order to do that and guarantee that, we need 4 quarters of more aggressive play. So I agree with you, but I do stick to my point that, as hard as we are on Bill Musgrave, man, the numbers ain't lying right now. He's doing an efficient job, and it's working right now, but efficient ain't going to get us to the playoffs if this defense doesn't fully catch up. So right now it's working, but it's something that I wanted to bring it up, and I thought we had a good discussion on it because it's something we need to keep an eye on moving forward. Your final thoughts before break?
Yeah, and I've got a lot. I got a lot of thoughts. Particularly on that toss play and some of the plays that he runs. We won't be able to get into it now, but once again, like you said, you need to pick up 1 yard. One thing that's been shutting down this offense is the fact that they try to be too smart, they try to be too cute, and so when are you going to have holding penalties on penalties that basically require everybody to try to move down the line? You got guys running, you guys got cutting back, so that's where you're probably going to get those penalties. What does he do? He uses Latavius Murray on a pitch out play against a very, very sound, fast defense that tackles extremely well, trying to get them to move off their point. But once again, what's it going to do? It's going to create penalties. So, there's that point. But just on the offense really quickly again here, Derek Carr, huge game, graded out. Pro Football Focus graded him out 84.1. Michael Crabtree, 85.1. Asamele, 80.8. Donald Penn, 77.5. I would have put him up there higher. I thought he did a phenomenal job, particularly since they were sending help to Vidal Alexander. Rodney Hudson, 71.4. So once again, the offensive line grades out particularly high, and you take a look at the connection between Carr and Crabtree. They grade out exceptionally high on this offense. So fantastic job all the way around.
No, absolutely. And too bad we don't have more time because, man, there is just a ton. We'll probably have to come back tomorrow and continue this conversation on offense because there's still a lot on the table we got to talk about, whether it's injuries, offensive line, Carr, Crabtree, Cooper. There's so much more I want to get into, but unfortunately, we're out of time in segment 1, so we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we are going to jump into the defense, so stay tuned.
Carpets is celebrating the holidays with a huge inventory clearance sale. We have the best prices and guaranteed installation. Why would you buy anywhere else? Whether you're looking for laminate, vinyl, carpet, tile, or wood, we have it all. Save up to 50% on selected items. Room-size rugs, only $69. Visit Carpets at one of our 6 Bay Area locations or call us at 1-800-355-4MMM.
All right, welcome back to the W2W Review. I'm the Oakland Knight, joined by the Raider Pirate. Now we're going to get into the defensive side of things. So, Pirate, give us some defensive numbers.
Yeah, so, I mean, I thought the defense kind of stepped up. You know, you take a look at Baltimore. I mean, we kept them down 5 of 17 on third downs as well. Again, we allowed the 25 first downs, so they were able to just kind of move that ball down the field. But again, when we talk about that bend but don't break, five of 17, which is pretty darn good in terms of your efficiency on third downs, and then only 1 for 2 on fourth down. So again, that was big. Teams seem to like going for it on fourth down against us. They had a total of 80 plays against us. So once again, this defense is going to wear down if we continue to allow them to stay on the field for this period of time. 412 yards passing against us. That's a number, once again, that's got to come down. I mean, 300 is a lot. You know, to allow somebody to throw the ball for 300 yards, that's a lot as it is. So every week, 400, 500, you know, it's just ridiculous. They had 14 drives. They had 5.2 yards against our defense. So once again, you know, two plays is pretty much all you need to get a first down against us, and that's why they had 25 first downs. 412 yards of total offense, 282 yards. So again, close to 300 yards in terms of passing. We got to bring that number down. They threw the ball 52 times. 52 times. Joe Flacco threw the ball 50. Get that in the brain there. 52 times he threw the ball. So, you know, 5.2 yards per pass. Again, he was checking down a lot. You're looking at rushing. This is where I'm really this doesn't make me feel good. I mean, this is a team that could not find their running game. I mean, 41, 42, and 43 yards, or 40, 42, and 43 yards respectively over the first 4 weeks of the season. Okay, they're only running for 40 yards. They go ahead and they bench Forsett, but I think Forsett probably would have been able to rush for 160 yards against us. So West has, you know, a lot of yards on the ground. We allow 130 yards again, another 100-yard rusher to a team that should not have had any type of running game. 26 attempts, 5 yards per carry. We're still not sealing the edges. This is a problem. They were just tossing the ball out. And one of the commenters said, well, you know, Flacco, because he's in the brace, he can't get to that stretch play. So he's going ahead and tossing the ball out. Took us by total surprise. The coaching staff probably looked at it and said, we don't have to defend that side of the field because he can't run that way. Well, guess what? They came up with a way where he could just toss the ball out there, and it was the same thing as the stretch play. They were 2 for 3 in the red zone. So once again, we allowed them to score, but they had 10 penalties for 105 yards. Not as many penalties as we did, but for more yardage than we had. So that was also good. And you know, we got the turnover, right? We got another turnover. We could have had a couple of turnovers in that game. So once again, we're getting a lot closer. The pressure, like we talked about, when the pressure gets there, guess what? You got guys that are around the football, right? So once again, 412 yards against this defense. They were on the field more than half of the game, which again, just like with Chip Kelly and the offense in San Francisco, if you keep asking them to do that, you're just going to wear them down. You're going to burn them out, and you're going to get injuries. Again, we were even on the turnovers, so the defense was able to come up big. And, we didn't do so well at preventing them from moving the ball. But all in all, we held them to 27 points, and we scored 28. So what more can you ask for at this point?
Yeah, and again, I'll say it's just a little contradicting, I guess. When you look at statistically, the numbers still end up being horrible. And the thing that sticks out to me of where the defense still let us down a little bit was this was the number 25th ranked offense, and we gave up 412 yards. But at the same time, I saw mass improvement. And mass improvement with the defense that's playing this bad is obviously not enough. But again, the key focus here is improvement. They improved, again, from week 3 to week 4. They improved. And that leaves me to be really optimistic, especially when you take in consideration that we have 5 rookies on defense in Calhoun, Ward, Latham, James, and Joseph. And James and Joseph really stood out. Latham stood out. Ward stood out. All these guys are playing really good football for being rookies. And with every single snap and every single game, whether we struggle or not, these guys are learning, and they're learning on the fly while they're getting snaps. That's going to be huge, not only for this season, but for their careers. There's no better way to learn than to just be kind of thrown in there. And again, I mean, this might be our weakness, but I see the potential of this defense, Raider Nation. I mean, the fact that we were able to bounce back, we got to correct the run. The pass rush showed up this week, even though we weren't getting the sacks that I was hoping for. I mean, Flacco, there's a reason why they started running the ball, because if they didn't, we were just going to keep sacking him and keep, that's how we won the game. We got them in a passing situation, and Flacco was just under duress. He had to get rid of the ball sooner than he wanted to. Nelson was able to come up, make plays. Hayden was a part of that play. I mean, all in all, it fell right into where we needed it to fall into, which were that he had to drop back and get the ball down the field, and we were ready for it in this pass rush. They couldn't stop Mack. They couldn't stop Irvin. So hopefully we could build upon this. And the more and more that we build upon this week in and week out right now, here early on, we have a lot of great opportunities to look forward to. Mario Edwards Jr., possibly Aldon Smith, Nate Allen's hurt. So, he'll be back into the mix eventually, which is just going to bolster up that secondary even more and give people breaks and breathers. We had some injuries. Malcolm Smith out with a groin right now. So hopefully that heals quickly, because that is going to weaken us. But I think we have time to recover. This team plays together. This team plays for each other. So I'm not going to worry about the injury bug on the defensive side of the ball at the moment, but it's something to keep an eye on. I think losing Malcolm Smith could hurt this team moving forward. So hopefully it's not as bad as it's presumed to be with Malcolm Smith, but it's probably a week-to-week basis. But again, improvement. But see, when you say improvement and you look at it and we give up 412 yards, you got to shake your head still and be like, no, it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And we're going up against the San Diego Chargers, who, if there's anything they could do, is move the ball offensively. So once again, we're definitely going to have to hit the film room, hit the practice field, and fix some of these things, and possibly find an answer at weak side linebacker. Your thoughts, Pirate?
Yeah, I mean, I take a look at this, and the rookies, like you brought up, are a big thing. I mean, these guys are changing the way that this defense is being played. And I look at guys like Corey James and Carl Joseph and how they're in on a lot of tackles. This is kind of like that second string quarterback comes in and he's already got a chemistry with like the third string wide receiver, right? Because they've been practicing together. So he kind of comes in and all of a sudden McGloin is throwing the ball and he's hitting Seth Roberts, or he's, hitting, some of these guys that aren't going to see very much playing time. Bryce Butler, but it's because they've practiced day in and day out. So you got Joseph, who's running running with the ones, but he's probably also getting time with the twos. You got guys like, Corey James that are running with the ones a little bit, but they're the majority of the time they're playing with the twos. But you can see that these guys kind of are beginning to understand one another, what they're doing, where they are. So you're seeing them in on a lot of these plays, right? They just kind of have that chemistry that was missing with Ben Heaney. And it's so sad what's happening to Ben Heaney. I mean, we're watching right before our eyes the implosion of a player. Unfortunately, when he comes in, he's just doing all of the wrong things at the wrong times. And you just kind of look at it and you go, oh my God, they're just picking on this guy. And when he's not in there, he's offensively, like I said, and I hate to go back to the Latavius Murray thing, but he's the defensive Latavius Murray. He's that guy that when he gets in there, it doesn't slow down. It speeds up for the other offense, right? So, watching these guys, watching what they're putting together, watching the adjustments that they've made, watching these young kids. And again, it's because we do have such an experienced coaching staff that they are able to develop these guys and bring these guys kind of up and make sure that they keep things simple. You saw in the game yesterday, it got a little bit out of control. They were a little bit confused. They didn't know what to do. They had to burn timeouts in the second half. And that's just something that you just can't do. If it's moving too fast for you, you got to simplify it, bend but don't break, take the play, and then try to regroup at that point. You can't just be burning timeouts because the defense doesn't know what the heck they're doing, the substitutions, 12 men on the field, all these other types of things. These are mental mistakes. These are things that as a defense, you have to understand. This is what we're doing. And it happens, it happened yesterday, didn't end up hurting us. But again, what if we needed that one timeout and, we lost the game because we only had 5 seconds left and, XYZ. So the young players, incredible. What they're doing is incredible. Corey James, incredible. Carl Joseph, like I said, feels like he's solidified this secondary. I'm really liking it. Now, you notice we're not sitting here like, oh, man, Reggie Nelson. Why Reggie Nelson this? Why Reggie Nelson that? Oh, he blew this. He blew. Now he's able to just stand back there and do what it is he needs to do because there's a middle linebacker in there that's doing his job. There's a strong safety that's doing his job. Now Reggie Nelson can kind of just move back and forth and play that single high, wait for things to come to him and make the types of hits that he made at the end of that game. What an incredible game. I mean, again, props. We love this football team. We're just talking about these things. We're just analyzing these things and talking about things that we'd like to do better. Obviously, there will always be people that disagree, but these are just our thoughts. These are our opinions. If we fix a couple of things, there's no reason why this cannot be a Super Bowl type football team, But again, if we allow some of these things to continue, if we had lost yesterday, all the people, stop hating on Murray, stop doing this, stop doing that, you're doing this to him. Okay, if we would have lost yesterday, we'd all be doing it. And in fact, if you look around the NFL, people are talking about it. We're not the ones talking about it. I mean, we are talking about it, but we're not the only ones talking about it. It's everywhere. It's in print media. You're listening to it on the television stations. Everybody's talking about it. That's what you do. You sit down, you take a look at it, you see what was good, you see what was bad, you see what you can do to get better, and you make those adjustments. It happens all around the league. This is just our way of kind of bringing these things up and educating the common Raider fan on what it is that we see.
Exactly. And I want to say this, what I saw from the defense yesterday too, I thought they played really, really strong up until that third quarter drive. I think the momentum switched because they started getting torn apart a little bit. They hit about midfield and they caused that fumble and they weren't able to jump on it. And I think that kind of like their adrenaline spiked and then it dropped when they didn't get the ball. And then it just started to implode from there. And then you get the other one was the Steve Smith touchdown catch. I mean, that was just one play that went bad. And that kind of started a little spiral downward thing. And then the fumble by Washington set them up in the red zone. But if you take those 3 plays away, which, come on, we can't play woulda, coulda, shoulda, all the time. But outside of those 3 drives, this was a good football performance. If you take away, you land on that fumble, Washington doesn't fumble, and then you just give up that one pass to Steve Smith, these numbers change drastically. These different defensive numbers change drastically. So there's definitely room for improvement. But again, there was improvement, and that's what we need to focus on because this team is young. The defensive side of the ball is young. I mean, we talk about the 5 rookies, but Khalil Mack still at the beginning of his career. Autry's still a young player. Bruce Irvin's only on his second contract. He's just entering into his prime. Amerson's still on his second contract. There's just a lot of young, good talent on this football team. I think the only real true veterans on the field, I guess you could throw Malcolm Smith in there, but you got Sean Smith and Reggie Nelson. Other than that, we're still fairly young and just building that nucleus. So watch out for this Raider defense. I think if we can continue to score points and give these guys opportunity to continue to gel, this is what's going to make us a playoff team, and it's also going to make us a type of playoff team that can make some noise because we got time, and we're 3-1. That's the key. We need to find ways to continue to win these football games and give this time to gel and develop, get some big key players back like Mario Edwards Jr., hopefully Alden Smith, and all of a sudden we're back in the game. Final thoughts before we jump out of here, partner?
Just a great game. Again, once again, a great game. And I'm very happy at this point being 3-1 going
Absolutely.
in the first quarter of the season. I think this is as much as we could have hoped for. I mean, a lot of us at the beginning said we could go 4-0, but hey, let's face it, there was some pretty tough competition. And again, what Matt Ryan is doing is incredible. What Drew Brees is doing is incredible. It looks like those first couple of weeks were not indicative of our defense per se. I mean, yes, we did play bad, but I think it was exactly the same as last year. It looked like we were historically bad against tight ends, but then those tight ends continued all throughout the season to continue the same type of production against every other defense that they faced. We just happened to face some really good tight ends early on. We may have just faced some really good defenses early on, including Tennessee with a punishing ground game and including the Baltimore Ravens. So it may not be as bad as we think it is. And, once again, hey, I want to shout out, though, to you, partner. We went over 150,000 views and 1.5 million minutes of watch time, and that has largely to do with what you've done up until this point. A little bit of that was what we've been doing here, but just a shout out to you. That's a pretty big accomplishment. Some people may think, some people with the huge numbers may think that's not a big thing, but definitely a big thing. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that.
Well, I appreciate it, Pirate, and I can't take all the credit for that. It goes out to all the people that follow this channel. So I want to thank everybody. I mean, all the Facebook groups that's been showing us a lot of love, all the guests we have on, from MVP to Louis T to Stephen Michaels to, my goodness, there's so many names. I don't want to leave anybody out, but those are just some that pop into my head. Michael Tompkins. Mike. Yeah. So, Mike and Mike, actually, we had a couple of mics on. So, big shout out to everybody. Remember, you guys could find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at The Will to Win. You can email us any questions or concerns at thew2w@gmail.com. This has been brought to you by the Will to Win broadcast. You're watching the W2W review. And for the Raider Pirate, I'm the Oakland Knight, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay Raider strong.
Hey there, I'm Jason Smith, also known as the Oakland Knight. We'd like to thank you for watching the Will to Win broadcast here on YouTube. And if you would like to stay up to date for more content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Or you could click any one of the videos on the side to watch more great videos. Thank you once again, and stay Raider strong.